Thomas the Tank Engine and Friends. Tales from the Rails. Episode 45. Kippers and Quacks. Random Docks is a very busy location on the island of Sodor. Many engines run through it, and it is a prime area of the island. In the daytime, you'll often find Salty and Porter working very hard, but there's also work at night too. But at night, Henry takes the Flying Kipper, a very important train on the island. One night, Henry was pulling the Flying Kipper perpetually well, and the run was smooth. The brisk wind ran across Henry's boiler with ease as he strained through the main line. He clickety-clacked his way over to his tunnel. "Looks like no rain today, boy," laughed his driver. Henry laughed at the fact of what his driver had just said. "I'm not a worrier," he laughed. "Not now, but maybe back then." Duck was waiting at the station for Henry's arrival. He was going to help him up the viaduct. Henry rushed into the station, coming into a halt. "Why, hello there, Duck. You're to assist me today, aren't you?" "Yes, I am," said Duck. "Now get charging up the hill." "Oh," said Henry, "I have heard from Sir Topham Hatt there were supposed to be more fish trucks here." None here," said Duck. "Maybe someone else is bringing them, so maybe we should wait." "Yes," said Henry. "It would be a terrible mistake if we left them behind." And soon Freddy arrived with them. "Sorry I'm late," said Freddy. "There was some signal trouble out in Sudbury. I'd be careful when you're going by that line." Henry took his word and coupled the rest of the trucks up to the train and backed up to get a good start of the hill. Duck came around to the back of the train. He was only going to push and not be coupled to the train, but then he began to think about another route around Sudbury. A workman approached him. Duck thought that the workman was only going to check the tail lamp, as an accident had happened before. But accidentally, the workman coupled Duck up to the train. But Duck wasn't paying attention, as he was thinking of another route. "Ready, Henry?" called Duck. "Ready," called Henry. And then he began to pick up speed towards the hill. With Duck pushing from the back, the train easily made its way up the hill. Then Henry, all he had to do was pull the weight up the rest of the hill, but the trucks laughed and tried to play games. But Henry would have none of it. Duck was surprised at how fast they had gotten up the hill. But soon disaster would strike. Henry puffed on his way, making sure of the line ahead. He did not want to go down Sudbury, as he knew disaster was ahead. Duck's job was almost done, when suddenly Douglas appeared from up above, with the foghorn cars. "Douglas, what are you doing with those?" "Eyed this foggy head. Be very careful. Where's Henry?" "I'm helping Henry." "Oh no," said Douglas, backing up. "I was supposed to alert Henry about the fog. It's very dangerous out in Sudbury with all the signal problems." "I better warn him," said Duck. "Yes, you should do so. Tell Henry as fast as you can. Sudbury is just up the line." And then Douglas puffed away. And Duck continued on his way, but shouted out to Henry, "Hey, Henry!" But the train was extremely elongated, and Henry couldn't hear Duck's call. And by the time he did, he was already plunging downhill into the fog. "Henry," called Duck, "there's a problem ahead. We need to stop." But the train couldn't be stopped with all its momentum going downhill. And so Henry missed the points off Sudbury. He was heading right towards the Sudbury Swing Bridge. They had made it downhill when then Duck realized something. "Why am I coupled to the train?" he asked. Then he remembered. "Oh no, that workman coupled me to the train." Henry puffed out of a tunnel into clear fog. "Where am I?" he asked. Then he read the sign on the Sudbury Swing Bridge. He shouted back to Duck, "Duck, we're in Sudbury!" But he didn't realize that the swing bridge wasn't set for his side. Duck tried to stop the train, but it was too late. As Duncan puffed overhead, Henry smashed into the side of the Sudbury Swing Bridge, leading him into the lake. Henry just slid into the water, and the train followed behind. Duck was at the back of the train, and suddenly he saw the disaster escalating. He stopped right in time. "Phew!" cried Duck. "Henry, are you all right?" Henry had swallowed a lot of water. He coughed it up. "I think I'm all right. But this is the second time this has happened." The Flying Kipper was in a mess. Suddenly, a bunch of ducks came quacking over to see what had happened. Henry had disturbed their sleep, and they quacked all over him. Quack, 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 they went. Duck began to laugh. "Quack, quack, quack," went Duck. "Sometimes I think this kipper is quite a jinx for you, Henry." The next morning, the wreckage crew came and picked up the mess. Sir Topham Hatt arrived on a tugboat to speak to Henry. "Henry, this was not your fault. There was fog and faulty signals. You do not have to blame this on yourself." "Well, thank you, sir," said Henry. He was quite tired out. Seawater had gotten into his boiler. He did not feel well at all. Plus, ducks swarmed him. They were still angry about the night before. Duck spoke up. "Well, Henry, even I, being a duck, do not like being disturbed in my sleep." And they all laughed. "And, Henry," said Sir Topham Hatt, "I guess you can say you had kippers and quacks for breakfast." And Henry smiled the biggest smile he had had for a while.